Okie dokie, we're back with another part of Oxygen Not Included's base game walkthrough. So yeah, what we left off just barely was getting into this area, getting all of our deodorizers set up, having a place to run our slime to. You can see that they are storing the polluted dirt and the slime in these bins. As it's gassing off, it's just being purified, so that's in good shape. I'm just going to clear my alerts for any of my research that's been done here. By the way, the next research target that I might want is maybe this, our desalinator, if you happen to find any salt water that you want to handle. We will eventually want things like this, which will be our refined, like higher quality power lines. There's a couple of things you could get here. The other thing you could also get is your ranching setup. We will be doing this here in just a little bit, but we need to solve a bunch of other things first. I kind of want shipping up before I deal with that anyway, so I'm not really in dire need of any research right now, so I'm just going to kind of get whatever for the time being. And just keep it going. As long as you're researching something, it's better than just not researching anything and slowing yourself down. Alright, let's prioritize this a little bit higher. We'll deal with our bathroom setup here in just a little bit, but I do want to get this cracked open if I can. Let's do it up until like one tile away. So we're really close to it, and then as soon as we're ready, we can open this up and get everything going. You should see someone come in here and grab this slime pretty quickly after it's been in here. But if you do click on your duplicant, it will say, I can't remember exactly where it is, but it does say if you've been exposed to slime lung, which gives them a small chance. Yeah, there we go. It gives them a small chance of contracting slime lung when they wake up tomorrow. But, yeah. Kind of beating that horse to death, I guess. Alright, we're pretty close. Waiting on just a couple more things. I just want to crack this open only because I'm getting impatient. I would normally wait, but I don't want to make everybody just sit here and wait for this. So I'm going to crack it open and just a couple of tiles, maybe something like that. And then as this starts to drift back in here, hopefully we have enough deodorizers to deal with this type of back pressure. You could do some kind of math to figure this out. You can also put like a door here if you want to make sure that you clean it all out before it's allowed into the rest of your base, so let's see what happens. Looks like these guys are all getting pretty busy. Doing a pretty good job of holding this back. Yeah, I think we may have enough. It might just barely sneak some out, but I think we might be okay, because as we deal with it, the pressure will drop. There's some getting through. Okay, we'll see how this does, and we'll fix it up later if we need to. The other part of this that I wanted to talk about, once our bathrooms get up, is we are dependent on algae right now for oxygen. We have plenty, like we're not about to run out, but I'd really rather not use it if there's another thing we can use that's a lot more plentiful. Wow, this wound up not being nearly enough. Well, if something like this does happen, which it probably will at some point, you can just kind of do the same thing nearby. Just add some deodorizers, do something like this, and then you can hook them up with your power lines and get them all cleaned up. The thing that's usually good about this polluted oxygen is it typically will not change levels because it's like the same quote-unquote weight as regular oxygen. So it'll typically just kind of go out in a straight line, so that's how you can deal with it. But, like we mentioned, this polluted water is producing a lot of polluted oxygen, and this is both a good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you don't want it to do that and it's causing a problem, but it's a really good thing if you don't want to have to spend algae for your oxygen anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find a place to dedicate for my oxygen production. Let's say, I don't know, somewhere over here. Why not? It's going to be somewhere that's a little bit out of the way because it's not something that my duplicants are going to need to go to all the time, except for to add more sand. Let me add some more wire here. So I'm going to pick an area just to kind of produce more of my oxygen. I would probably... yeah, there's not a great place to put it right now. But this is mostly just for the sake of example. I would probably not rush it this fast if I was in my own game, but again, I want to have at least something relatively interesting for the video. Oh wow, that was perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. I'm going to go to about there. Build this up. So what I'm going to be doing is setting up an area, just a pretty large area that I'm going to build something out to start producing oxygen from polluted water so that we don't have to spend any power or algae or whatever on getting our oxygen. It'll just gas off for us naturally. And that gas off is really something that I don't know if they fully understood how powerful that actually was, because it is very good. Just going to do something like this. Every other one, or rather between every single thing, I'm going to put a couple of deodorizers so that it can clean the stuff that's coming out. We're about ready. Who's idling? Oh, it's our farmer. Yeah, our farmer can't build. I shouldn't have taken that duplicant upon looking at it once again. Maybe we could just have them do some researching or something like that. Let's see. What else do we want? Desalination, we should probably get. So now that our bathrooms are pretty much ready, we'll get back to this setup for oxygen as soon as they build it. But now that our bathrooms are pretty much ready, all you need to do to get this started is you just need to seed your bathrooms with just a little bit of water. The reason that I like this setup for the early part of the game is I only need a little bit of water to get this started. And then after that, this will be slightly water positive. It's not going to be enough to like feed a ton of plants or anything like that, but it does trickle in a little bit over time. Only because your duplicants will expel more water than they use when they're using the bathrooms, which is very pleasant to think about, I'm sure. Let's see, let's just get this person researching just so we have them doing something. This farmer will eventually be responsible for our ranching, but we don't need that right now. And then again, because this is a supplier, I could either get the improved strength or I could start getting some of this stuff, which is going to be +2 to athletics. I will eventually want everybody in this track because athletics just makes them move faster, which means they can do work faster, so might as well just do that, even though we don't have suits right now for that to start mattering. Let's get our wires hooked up here. Whoops. Definitely drove it in the wrong direction. Sure, whatever. Alright. This is starting to look a little bit more under control. Our duplicants will get here and clean the rest of this up. Your duplicants can also just breathe this. It's not great, obviously. I don't want them breathing polluted oxygen if they don't have to. But now that the pressure is starting to normalize here a little bit, we're going to build a ladder and a water pump or liquid pump, whatever, down in the polluted water. I actually will probably want to build this a little bit lower so it can actually pump everything out. If I build it up at the top, eventually it's not going to be able to get to the rest of the water that's left here. So I'm just going to put it down at the bottom. Or I could just kind of dig it out like that and put it closer so I don't need to travel as far when building all this stuff. Then this, I'm just going to need to remember that this is going to be a pipe full of polluted water. This polluted water is going to go straight into all my tanks that I'm building over here because I'm just going to fill up the tanks, and then when they're done being filled up, I'm going to deconstruct them, which is going to leave a big bottle of polluted water on the ground. And that polluted water will naturally gas off, and it will especially gas off pretty fast if there's a whole bunch of them in one area. So this is going to be our new central location for oxygen production, and it is dirt cheap. It is very strong. Definitely something I would recommend if you want to start saving on your algae. And I'm going to stay on this for a long time. This is one of the best, I would say, oxygen production setups in the game, because all you're going to need to do to keep this going is sand, which, by the way, we're going to start being reliant on. But we have a ridiculous amount of sand. It's one of the most plentiful things on the map. So I'm just going to track that. Once I can get this thing filled up and delete the tanks, I will not be dependent on algae anymore, so I will delete these. And then this will be my only form of oxygen production, but it still should do a great job. Looks like we are getting a little bit of polluted oxygen up here too. I guess we could drop a couple more. Where is this power? So yeah, it's just going to look something like this. Nothing too overly fancy, and it's going to take a little bit for everything to get set up here. Do we have water in our bathrooms yet? Yes. Okay, now we do. So I don't need to send any more water to these bathrooms anymore. As my duplicants use it, it will go back into the sieve, it'll get cleaned, it'll go into this tank, and then it'll go back into the system. So I'm just going to disconnect it at the point that it was connected. I have a little bit of residual water in there for it, that's fine. This will drop a little bit of water on the ground, which you can see it should pool up there. There you go. And then you can just mop it up. So our bathrooms are now good to go. We can delete our outhouses and get those out of here because that's just going to be wasted duplicant time. I don't really care what I'm researching at this point, so if I don't care that much or I don't have anything that I specifically want right now, I'm just going to research something that's really deep in the tree and just keep researching even though I might not necessarily need it right away. I like to just not have to think about it and be ready to use it as soon as it's up there instead of be like, oh, now I need it and I don't have it researched. So I'm just going to research whatever. We also have our washroom ready, so this is going to be a +2 morale to our duplicants. Our duplicant skills are going to be getting a little bit higher. Oh, also one thing I forgot to mention with the skills is since we want to be researching towards shipping, you wouldn't want to start specializing somebody in mechatronics. But once we get that 5th skill point, which will be around cycle 50, you can always respec somebody into what you might want them doing anyway. We may actually just respec our builder when we get there. So yeah, we'll get up to that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for right now as far as things that I'm focused on. We have new bathrooms. We have a way to deal with getting over here. There's an ice biome, by the way, so maybe the next time once we get over here, we will be entering the ice biome, and I can talk about that a little bit more as far as like why it's so useful for food. So that'll probably be where we pick up. When we pick up, these will also probably be full with polluted water, and I will delete them, and we'll get our new oxygen production going and delete these oxygen diffusers. So yeah, we'll check back in here in just a little bit, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you really soon.